What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Founder Academy. I am Mark, the FUT founder, and wow, do we have a lot to cover. We have a ton of footage that we have to catch up. I know I promised this last time, right? This is actually part 2 of the FUT Champs run that we did a long time back. We're like well over a month worth of footage. My plan for this, guys, is we are going to take today's video and just power out the second half of our FUT Champs run. So you guys will see where I finished with this. I don't want to ruin it with the result, but you'll see by the end of it how we do. And then I'm going to power through all of these promos and all of this gameplay. We've got a ton of changes to the teams, a bunch of packs that we have pulled, some really high rated stuff, but we have Team of the Year. We have, what is it, Future Stars. We have now the Silver Silver Stars promotion. Like, we've gone through a ton of promotions. I apologize that I haven't been able to get on. I had my beautiful girlfriend here for the last couple of weeks, so I don't want to be spending my time when she's visiting from Toronto playing FIFA the entire time and editing videos. I want to make sure that I'm spending quality time, so that's where I've been for the last couple of weeks. But not to blame her, she's beautiful and she's probably watching this video right now, so it was well worth it. If I got to take some time away from this ugly game, then that is worth every single penny, because believe me, this game causes me nothing but stress. But another big update is we ended up getting one of the PS5s. So we have some PS5 gameplay. It's not going to be in this video. It's going to be in future videos. It's kind of ironic because the PS5, even though I have the PS5 version of FIFA 22, I've been playing the PS4 version primarily. I got the PS5 a couple weeks ago, ended up picking up the PS5 version of the game, and it sucks. It sucks, period. That's all I have to say about it. It's absolutely terrible. It's unplayable. When people were talking about the patch and why the patch makes the game bad, I didn't really get it because I was using PS4 and I'm thinking the game's the same. What are you guys complaining about? It doesn't feel that different. The PS4 version is not great, but it is like loads time... that's not a word, but like it is a million times better than the PS5 version. The PS5 version is absolutely unplayable. It's just tactic abuse. It's literally, you can have the worst team in FIFA, but if you just like literally build your team in a way that they drop back to one depth and counter attack and just play super spammy and abuse things like that angled finesse from far, like from the other side of the box, right? It lobs and like bends around the keeper and goes into the far post. Like, it's awful tactic abuse like that, and gameplay coding abuse that makes that game what it is. So as soon as I got that, I played it for one day. I couldn't even play it. I think you guys will even see some of the games that we ended up playing. I couldn't even play it. I don't even remember what our record was on it. I played it for one day and I got off it. The only times that you'll ever see me playing PS4, which you'll see in a future episode, is me playing co-op with my friend Nima. That's one of the reasons that I got it, because him and I like to play. He's another day one player. He's been playing for ages. And yeah, he just, he's had one since it came out, like last Christmas. And we've wanted to play, but we haven't been able to, just because I haven't been able to get my hands on one. I've been trying to get one in the store, but I wasn't able to get it. It's been absolutely a nightmare trying to get one online, because as soon as they go up, they're gone within seconds. You don't even get a chance to like click on the link and add it to a bag before it says sold out. So I caved and I ended up buying from a reseller. However, it's a trusted reseller. It's somebody that I knew. We had a mutual friend, and they said they vouched for the person. They told me why they were selling it. And, we paid a little bit more than I would have liked, but we now have a PS5. Just ironically, we're playing PS4 games on it. So that is what it is. But yeah, what you guys are seeing here in terms of the gameplay, this is part 2 of our FUT Champs run from a couple weeks ago. We took a couple losses. What you guys are going to see, and I know I sound like a broken record because I talk about this all the time, but you're going to see my team really, really badly getting moraled, and just the DDA is going to kick into this team, and they're going to be virtually unplayable. So I'll show you guys some of the stuff that's happening. I said that in the last video. I know it's been a couple weeks since that one happened, but you guys are going to see my team really get affected really, really badly in this video. And ironically, I was watching Krasi today, who's like, I believe he's Bulgarian. He's a Bulgarian YouTuber, but I think he was a pro at one point, at least played competitively to some degree. Very, very good player. I've seen him on stream a bunch of times, but he went into this new silver challenge. He was doing golden goal and giving up goals to guys that were scoring first, and then his team became unplayable. And he was complaining about bad gameplay. And I just get furious when I hear people say that, because as soon as I say anything in the chat, which I try not to do, I usually just lurk in chats because, look, it's toxicity at its absolute finest, like online, like dealing with Twitch chats. People just make nonsensical arguments and they don't want to hear rationale. But like if I ever said anything about morale, people just call me like some lunatic. They're like, it's not in the game anymore, it hasn't been there for years. And like, again, call it whatever you want, but like, that explained to me very clearly what was going on with his team. His team was just unplayable. Like yesterday he went 6-6, and today he was just going loss after loss after loss, and his team were generating no offense because he couldn't get them going. And that's essentially what you're going to see here today. We're just taking loss after loss after loss, and the team got to the point where I didn't take them offline. It was my fault. I plan on trying to give it a go this weekend for FUT Champs. I haven't played FUT Champs since this iteration, just because I haven't had the time. I've been busy on weekends, but we have a pretty free weekend, so I might give it a try, see if we can get a better record than we had during this, disgraceful attempt at a FUT Champs run. I think this is maybe the worst FUT Champs run we've ever had. In terms of just like our record, it was really, really poor, but a lot of that just comes down to like this game. Like I know a lot of people say FIFA's a really bad game every year, but this one is really, really tough, right? Like this one is really terrible in terms of just other external factors affecting the results. Like I feel like the skill gap still exists, but it's affected more. It's not affected by how good a FIFA player you are. It's affected by how much you can abuse the game, how much you can utilize the tactics, how much you can abuse the mechanics. And it's gotten worse. This year, it's really bad for it. And it's just really frustrating, right? It's really, really frustrating because you can't do anything to prevent it. It's just, it's almost unplayable if you just go in game after game after game and you don't squad manage, I guess, your team to make sure that they're playing to their absolute finest. This year it affects you more than I've ever seen, because guys are so good, you can't afford to go into a game without your team playing 100%. And they are what they are, right? So we've taken on a couple losses. You guys have seen it. We're trying to pull the team back into a playable state here. They were okay. As you guys see here, we pull it back 2-2 against his opponent, but we lost that first game, a very tight game. And then he does this. He literally just, like, look at that kickoff, right? You can't do anything about it. Kickoff's another thing that I know it's been in the game for years and years and years, but this year it's awful. Like, that was disgraceful, right? Watching that. And people can blame me all they want, but Clarence Seedorf didn't lock in. None of the defenders identified it. And next thing you know, he's through on goal. So as soon as you get the kickoff, you literally just hold sprint and you go wide. Because if guys go L1 trigger, for some reason when it gets to the back line, it doesn't identify properly and you can't change players and they get stuck standing. I left that clip in, that Puskas miss. I'll come back to that in a second because I want you guys to see this. This rocket, here we go, left foot, bang, goes flying into the net. So those two clips back to back represent something very interesting to me. So I don't know how this guy's team is playing. Let's assume that they're playing quite well. But I've taken on what I've called morale. So my team's fallen through the floor in terms of their playability. Okay? So on my opportunity, when I'm in on a 2-on-1, I look at Puskas, who's one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best pure finishers in the game. Right? Here's another opportunity, which I thought was really crazy. Has a chance right through, takes a heavy touch, and then the defender comes right through. Like, Puskas, for most of the year, prior to him getting really badly handicapped or really badly DD8 or whatever you want to call it, he positions himself very well. He identifies soft spots on the field. He knows where to be because his offensive attacking awareness is so high. He usually moves into really good positions. Now, when I'm into that 2-on-1, what I want him to do is come towards me because the defender's moving in, but I want him to take a step towards me. Instead, he takes a step back. So what that does is now, because my defender, let's say they're in a line, if my defender's running, I want him to come with me, but I want him to come towards me. Instead, he moves back. So now my Sterling is running forward, has to go across body and cut the ball back. So it takes the momentum of the ball And it means that in order to hit a one-time shot, Puskas has to come backwards and hit it going back with his momentum. So the power of the shot is gone, right? That's not an accident. That's the way the game is coded, right? So when you're getting DDA'd really heavily, your players are not going to take steps into the ball. They're not going to move towards it and take shots from a really powerful position. They're going to drop back. They're going to move away. So the power of the ball, or sorry, the speed of the pass gets slowed down, and the players are moving backwards so they can't get that real powerful shot off. So that shot not only goes wide, which is a whole other argument, or a whole other conversation, but it's off balance to a certain degree, so he doesn't get that power on it and it sprays wide. Okay, so my opponent, when he's attacking, does a ball roll, lays it off, he's outside of the box, hits it one time with Ben Rama's weak foot. Now, he's got a 4-star weak foot, but his shooting is not fantastic. It's like mid to low 80s. He hits it one time from outside the box. I even have players relatively in the way. No blocks, nothing. He literally screams it low driven right into the net. Now, very similar opportunities. EA apologists are going to say, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. There's a million things you could have done, but the reality is both of those opportunities are not that far off from the percentage of which they should have scored. If anything, I probably had the higher percentage chance because I'm inside the box with a better offensively aware attacker, right? He's one of the best pure goal scorers in the game and in the history of football. And instead, he moves back and hits it off balance, where the Benrahma steps into it and drives it perfectly into the net. Now, I get it. Sour grapes, people can say, oh, you're just mad that you got scored on. But I'm trying to explain like why those things happen. When your team's getting affected like that, that's the stuff that happens. Next thing you know, you're down goals and you'll lose a game because of those little niggly things. All of those things add up and it creates the result. It's not justifying the result with the actions. It's the actions creating the result that makes people angry, right? And that's something that a lot of idiots are not going to understand. They're just going to say, oh, you're mad that you're bad, right? And it's not, I don't care about the result. It doesn't really matter. My point is you can affect that stuff. That's why you have to take your team and take them offline. Like, please do yourself a favor. Take them offline. I will not go into this weekend knowing what I know from how this weekend went. You don't have enough games to sit there trying to play your way out of bad DDA, right? You can't affect your team that negatively and go back into a new game. Look at this game, right? We had an opportunity right early on. I'm George Best inside the area facing the net, and he shoots it. It hits the crossbar, post, and then bounces down and away. The physics of the ball didn't make any sense to me. I don't know how he misses that, but like, sure, you can call that whatever you want. And then this guy's scoring all these goals, right? So he comes in, powers past Rafa Varane for his first goal. Rafa Varane doesn't even kick out a leg, doesn't block it. He's one of the best defenders at this stage of FIFA where, you know, this was the gold Varane. But at this stage, this is like a month and a half ago before the SBC came out. This was actually a very, very good defensive card. Doesn't even block it. He's right in the passing lane. The guy passes across and gets position on my Conte, who's also got really high defensive awareness, and he hammers the shot home. So it's very frustrating because all of this stuff just adds up, and next thing you know, he's scoring a goal. Then he comes down one, like just, I have to go ultra attacking. He goes flying down, literally one tramp shot, another goal. Then the third one, same thing. He just comes flying down. My players are bouncing off. Their physicality is through the floor. Their defensive awareness is through the floor. They get caught standing. Their defensive AIs change so they're not cutting off passing lanes. They're literally almost moving out of the way, and it becomes really easy. Next thing you know, he's got 3 goals. And you can't do anything about it, right? The only thing you can do is, after that game, take your team offline. But again, I just went right back into this because at this point, during this run, I was just like, you know what? I'm not trying to go 20-0. I'm just going to do this, see what I get, go right back into this. The results will speak, the gameplay, the results will speak for themselves, and I'll show you guys, you know, why I did good or not good, right? You guys will just see it. This is what happens. I bet you if I took my team offline, my results probably would have been a lot different, right? If I would have, what I'm going to call like squad managed my team properly, I bet you my I probably would have had 2 or 3 more wins during this weekend. And that's really me being very realistic. I think some of the guys that we ended up beating were, there was maybe 1 or 2 games that could have went either way. I could have lost them, but at least 3 of the games that I lost very easily could have beaten them. And it's not a knock against my opponents. I'm not insulting them. It's just I've played enough FIFA in my life to know where I'm at in terms of the skill level. Like, this guy was actually a good player. A little bit of I'm ruining this game a little bit, but I ended up beating this guy. This guy was probably one of the better players. He was better than the last opponent we played. And I'm being very honest. You can tell by the way he positions, the way he keeps players, just the movement, right? Like, just the passing, just the awareness, the defensive, the way he defends, the way he controls his players, the way he attacks. He understood the game, right? He played quite well. But as you guys can see, the goals are generated from a lot of turnovers, a lot of just nonsense, right? He tackled me there, and the tackle took the ball into my player's way. So I would venture to say that I think this guy was probably going and experiencing the same thing that I was, which is his team was getting really negatively impacted. He'd probably taken on a couple losses, which is why we came up against him, right? It's, you know, the skill-based matchmaking, you end up coming across guys with I don't know if they call it the ELO for FUT Champs, but essentially the ranking, it puts you against guys. But like, look, his players aren't locking into tackles. The ball's just kind of bouncing. You know, it's not under control. He didn't feel like he had that control of his players, right? Like, look at that. They're not intercepting anything. Whereas against the other guys, some of these guys that I took losses to that I didn't think were very good players, their defenders were AI defending really heavily, right? This was really a game of 2 bad teams and which team played worse. Because I don't think this guy was a bad opponent. I think, you know, even there, right? The way he had his player, he drove away from mine and then he went cross body. That's not a bad shot. But because his team was getting so badly affected with DDA, my Ederson was making a miracle save. And he'd not made miracle saves. In the last game, he short-armed a shot, right? And there, he actually comes up and he makes a fantastic save right at the end. Like, look at this, right? You're telling me that is deserved? Like, I felt bad for this guy, right? I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that I got the win. But he didn't do anything wrong there. He defended it well, plays it back to his keeper, and his keeper smashes it off of Raheem Sterling, and it literally bounces right down to my attacker, who puts it into an empty net, right? Like, that is not user created. That is impacted by a team's, you know, the team getting handicapped, right? That's scripting of the, I don't say scripting. People are going to jump down my throat for that. Scripting, I don't really necessarily believe in, because that says like one team has to win. It's not about the team having to win. It's just the dynamic difficulty negatively impacting his team so badly. His defense was falling through the floor, and literally they're like bouncing shots off of each other, and they fall right into my lap. I put it into the empty net, and I got the win because of it, right? That affected this guy's record. And that type of stuff is so frustrating to me, and I get it. I got the win out of that, but how many games do you guys know where you can play and win and not feel rewarded? Not too many, right? Like, not too many. Sipping my Pepsi here. I think it's absolutely crazy that you can play this game and hate it so much, even when you win. And it's so frustrating because you love the sport. You love the concept of Ultimate Team. But it's unplayable, right? It's unplayable at times because it's unrewarding. This was the epitome, this game right here. This was not the epitome, this was the climax of the team really getting badly moraled. So you guys can see there how weird that movement was at first. Then he's getting this just magnet ball after magnet ball. My defense are not moving in the way. They're actually moving out of the way. They're standing still. The ball's just bouncing back to him. Magnet ball's a huge indicator for dynamic difficulty going against you, right? Your defensive AI falls through the floor. But like, look at that, right? You know, nice little pass and move there, but I couldn't, like, normally Rafa Varane just comes, shoves the guy off because he's got such high defensive capabilities that he can make that play. Instead, he, you know, I couldn't get, you could just feel it. As soon as that movement started, you just felt it. You just couldn't get it going, right? Turnover there. Pass inside into Fernando Torres. Inside, outside, have his defender on ice skates. He's moving around, can't defend it. But because that animation was so labored, it took so long, his defender got back into place and actually got Eto'o in the way. There's another opportunity, right? Like that, to me, 9 times out of 10, it's a goal. I cut in, I see Frank Puskas making a great run. He's plowing through the middle. I play that through ball there. Normally, he should take that in stride and just hammer it. First time, he's got the outside of the left foot trait. But because my team is getting handicapped, he plays that ball too narrow. The defender like rockets back into position, intercepts it, and plays it out, right? Like it slowed my Puskas down and sped up his defender so he got position on what normally Puskas is away with, right? So it's just really frustrating. Even those types of plays, right? Like that's a half chance right there. That shouldn't even have been a chance, right? The touches are so heavy, you can't do anything about it. It's just so frustrating. And then this, right? Like look at this. One bounce right off the player. Another one straight inside. Another one. A third one. 2 players in the way. He shoots through both of them and basically right through Ederson. And he's up 2-1, right? Like, I couldn't have done anything there. Could not have done a single thing. So now I'm 4-2-4, ultra attacking, trying to generate anything. But as you guys can see, like, look at how heavy these touches are. That wasn't even defended that well. The guy didn't get in my face. He didn't rush. But the touches are so heavy. We get a half chance there. Instead of Sterling taking with his right, for some reason he takes it with his left, so the shot's more central. I want a little layoff here to Puskas. Instead it goes all the way back to Conte, and by the time I get it to Puskas, now he's offside. Right? Like, that's not none of this stuff is coincidental, guys. None of it. Right? It's all down to the fact that when you take losses, they amplify. They amplify how bad your team plays over and over and over. And next thing you know, we are, what, 8-8? So, yeah, very tough. Very tough, guys. Like, it is, I don't want to say undeserved, but I don't have another real word for it. Like, these are opponents that we shouldn't really be losing to. And I get it. You'll lose to them. Every once in a while, you'll lose to them. I'm not saying that I should be beating him every single time. I should be losing every single time. But, you know, just weird stuff. Like, this guy doesn't even have 100% morale on his team. Right? He's got 90 morale. He's got 3 strikers, 2 of them playing in cam positions. So, you know, that type of stuff, you'd expect those players to actually play worse. But for some reason, I'm sure they'll play like heroes, right? 90 morale. The team normally should be playing through the floor. But instead, they'll just perfect movement, right? Like, watch Varane here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Go back and watch that. Varane didn't identify that at all. Literally just stood there. And you can watch the trigger over top of his head. I had to change to him just to try to bring him, like to pull him over. He didn't identify at all. And then Ederson comes in and he basically does one of these. So the guy shoots it. I might as well not even have had a goalie in net, a keeper in net, because he shot it right at him. Right? So the team is so far through the floor at this point that like I'm just praying that we come up against somebody who's worse that I can beat because who's the worst team, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't this guy, right? This guy's team was playing like heroes. You know, Puskas, right? Normally, he's got really tight dribbling. He's got super high agility, super high balance, and I had an engine on him, so I think he was like 99 in terms of his balance and his agility. You know, those touches were so heavy. Normally, when he's playing at 100%, they're really tight turns, and he's in, and he's on his left foot, and he's going cross goal. I couldn't even get him into that position because he was taking such heavy labored touches that the ball was shooting away from him. And then when I cut back, it almost took me outside of the box. I had to go recollect it and get my man back into a shooting position. By this point, the AI's moved all the defenders into the way, and they're blocking shots. My guys aren't blocking anything. Right? They're literally not blocking anything. You can see there he's short, like Ederson short arms another shot. They're just unplayable at this point. Loss of a header here. Next thing you know, he's away. Kyle Walker doesn't identify. None of the defenders identify, and Ederson doesn't stop anything. And it's an easy, it looks easy, and people just go, "Oh, that was a well-worked goal." But it's not about him, right? Anybody could have scored that because it was easy. But it gave all the inside tracks to all of his players. None of my defenders were moving in positions. None of the AI, the computer AI, Those are the little things that people don't see. Oh, well, you should have done this. You should have moved this guy. Guys, it's not me. It's not you. It has nothing to do with the user. It is the AI. It's the computer AI. When your team loses, they get dumb and they move out of positions. They stand still. They move out of the way. Offensively, they move behind players. They get into disadvantageous attacking positions. They just get dumb. They get dumb, and you can't do anything about it. The only thing you can do is take them offline and get them playable again, because they are going to continue to amplify worse and worse and worse. And you're seeing it. Like I said, the only reason I didn't do it was because this weekend that I was playing this, I just said, I'm just going to take the results, whatever they are. I don't really care about finishing 20-0 or anything like that. I'm just going to go back to back to back. And if I take losses, it will make for good content. And I don't have time to sit there taking them offline, because I didn't have time to play 4 games in a row to get them playable in squad battles, right? And nor would I really want to. Squad battles is awful to play this year. It's really terrible. I get it. But like, look at how heavy these touches are, right? And it's not bad gameplay. That doesn't mean anything, guys. It doesn't mean anything, right? This is an opponent. Thankfully, this is what we were looking for. We just needed that one final win. I just needed somebody who had taken enough losses that are ELO, but like you can just tell, like look at Raheem Sterling, right? He was skating. Go back and watch that again. He was like, he would stop the ball and then his player model would go like this, and then he'd have to come back to the ball. Really, really heavy touches, really over-exaggerated side to side. It makes it easier for a defender to read it and tackle, but unfortunately this guy, either his team or his players were not doing it. Shoots it for some reason. Well, it's not for some reason. When your team's getting riled, they hit posts. They hit posts more frequently than they normally do. So he smashes it off the post, and coincidentally it bounces out to one of his players, right? However, this guy's team was getting affected worse than ours was at this point, so I knew I just needed that second goal. I knew that some fluky was going to happen, so I literally just got the ball with Puskas, turned on it, and shot from about 25 yards out. 9 times out of 10, that's not even going on net. It's just getting parried away by the keeper, but I knew in that game I could just throw something on net, it would go flying in. So that's literally all I did. I just needed that second goal. I could feel the guy getting frustrated the way he was playing. He was slide tackling. At the end, he ended up slide tackling, getting that red, and then he quit because he didn't want to get the red card to register. So I could feel the player doing that, and it was just, knowledge of knowing opponents and knowing when they're going to quit, that I just need to throw in that second goal, throw something on net, get that second goal, and get him to quit out, which is what he was going to do, right? So we ended up finishing 9-9. The final 2 games we gave away. I promise I didn't record the 19th game, but we did end up scoring an own goal. That last one, the only reason that I didn't score the own goal was because the guy paused it. And I was just like, you know what, dude, I'm trying to give you a free win, and you pause it for me, so I'm just going to quit. So we ended up technically finishing 9-11 if you count the 2 giveaways, but I'll just call it 9-9 for the sake of the video. So we finished rank 4. Really terrible. Realistically, it probably should have been 10-8, 11-7, maybe somewhere in there. Would be, my honest truth. If we can get to that this weekend, I think that would be really nice progress. I don't expect to ever go 20-0. I don't think I'm built to go 20-0 in this game the way I play. I think realistically, I'm probably like a 12-8 player, somewhere in there. But 9-9 was, it is what it is. I like to deal in facts. So look, maybe I am a 9-9 player. Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, but I like to think realistically it's probably somewhere between 12-8. Maybe even higher. Who knows? I don't know. But I've always been very confident in my abilities to play the game. I just think this year the skill gap is probably lower than it's ever been. Just because I think there's way too many factors in FIFA now that affect it. There's almost too much customization. There's too many tactics to be abused, and with streaming, with live streaming, with YouTube content, with Reddit forums and Twitter, everybody plays the meta. There's no bad players in FIFA anymore, so unfortunately you're just playing clones of yourself every single game. And with skill-based matchmaking, it puts you in a position where you're literally playing yourself every game. It's one of the other reasons why FIFA is so frustrating, right? And it's tough because I like it. I love FIFA. I love the concept of it, but they're making it tougher to like every year. Realistically, it's getting tougher to love. I'm falling out of love with it, and I hate to say that. It's just It is, right? Like, I think the content is great. I think the card collecting and the team building is fun, but it's like the least enjoyable. Like, the gameplay is the least enjoyable part of it. I don't even, when I boot up the game, I like seeing what the content that they've released on that day is, and then I'll build a team, and I don't even have any urge to take them into a game. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. What do you guys think? Like, what are your feelings on it? Like, do you guys like playing the game? If so, how would you rank it versus previous FIFAs? Like, what do you guys think? I'm really interested to know what you guys think. Anyway, we finished 9-9. We finished rank 4. We get our 2-player picks. Obviously, we got nothing. The team of the weeks are just antiquated. Like, they're just outdated. Like, you don't pack anything good. Even guys that are like YouTubers that do this every single week and finish like really high in the skill rankings, I don't ever see them pack anything good. Like, I was watching Gorilla, and I think he got Aubameyang and Sancho this past week, and I was like, wow, that's really good. And I'm thinking, okay, Sancho's like 30K or 40K, and like Aubameyang's like 20 or 30. But is that really what you're cheering for? Like, you're not going to get an Mbappe, you're not going to get a Messi. I don't know how these guys get these players. Some of them, you'll end up seeing guys that have red versions of them, thinking like, how are these guys packing these guys? Because I never see anybody get anything good from those player picks. During team of the season, I think it'll be different. I think it'll be more enjoyable. But look, that gameplay is going to be super sweaty, so that is what it is. And then for the rest of the video, what you guys are going to see is packs, the rest of the packs and what we get with them. We ended up doing that Icardi SBC. I know, very old school, but like I said, we're going to power through these. We're going to catch up in the next couple days. The Icardi SBC is one that I definitely had to do. It wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't super cheap. It was a couple $100K. But Mauro Icardi is one of my favorite players. I love his player model in the game. This one is actually a really good card. At this stage, it's the 1st of March today. I don't think Mauro Icardi is necessarily a meta card. I think he's usable, but look, realistically, you should probably have one of the meta strikers in the game, the Mbappes of the world, the Ronaldos of the world. Like, you'll probably have one of those guys. Like, they're not that hard to get. Guys that use Icardi, people like me, you're having them in there for chemistry purposes or for emotional purposes or whatever the case may be. You'll put him in there because you like him, but I think he's a great shooter. He's got decent pace, but he's just not agile enough that he can create his own shot. And this year in FIFA, you need strikers that can create their own chances. He's just not that guy. He's just a straight-ahead guy. You get the ball on his foot, he'll put it in the net, but it's getting the ball in shooting position that's half the challenge. And if he can't create his own shot, they're kind of worthless. But that is going to be it from me, guys. I appreciate you sticking with me to the very end. Until next time, until episode 14, I hope you guys have a lovely evening. Take care. Peace.